Right, Scrafters, the game I've got this evening, this is between Xeminus, last year's EMS champion, and somebody that he's played up against on the ladder. This is Dog a Day. What? Dog. So Xeminus here in the top left as the Terran, and Dog as also the Terran in the bottom right. So both these players starting off pretty normally. Xeminus going for the wall off here on the high ground, and Dog going for the wall off outside the natural. You know, either one of these is a fine sort of way to play. The entrance to your min is always narrower than the entrance to your natural, so it's always quicker and easier to wall this off. But with that said, you know, unless you are playing maybe against a Zerg and you're expecting a very quick aggressive push, nothing's going to be turning up before you get a chance to wall this off generally, other than a scout. You know, so I don't mind this wall off down here. The one disadvantage this has is, and Xeminus hasn't actually attacked the worker here, but the disadvantage this has is if this scouting SCV attacks this one, it can interrupt production, because either you know, if you keep him building, he will eventually die, and if you pause, you know, to escape the other worker, obviously your barracks isn't being built, and you're so far away from your mineral line, it takes a long while to send another worker down to sort of protect this one. So that can be a disadvantage. So Xeminus up to some sort of tricks here, but it looks like Dog is onto him. He saw this worker come in, didn't see it leave, so he's actively looking for the worker to see where it has got to. And Xeminus trying to build our racks here in the min. It has been rumbled and will need to cancel that, and he does. Reaper in production at home for Xeminus. That's a pretty standard choice. You get a Reaper up, and they're excellent for getting across the map and scouting. No orbital for Xeminus yet, and that's pretty unusual. As a general rule, as Terran, as soon as your barracks is finished, you get the orbital command. You know, as soon as the orbital is done, no orbital for Dog either, by the way. As soon as the orbital is done, you can drop a mule, and a mule, you know, harvests you 270 minerals over its lifetime, which is not insignificant. The orbital command itself only costs 150, and obviously, you know, once you have energy, you pop another mule out. So mules are generally very good things, and orbital commands are just an integral part of playing Terran. So you see this sort of ramp that you can get up into the min with the Reaper. Very, very handy. Lets this Reaper get in, have a good look around. He's going to be absolutely obnoxious as well. He's going to pick off this worker that is building the starport, and that's a useful thing. So you're just slowing down your opponent's production. I don't know about working on the starport. It probably would have been better spent just throwing grenades into the mineral line and generally being disruptive. He's going to have to run away because you know, these two Reapers are. Oh, that is cute actually. Dropping the grenade in front of your Reaper when you're running away from something is pretty sweet. Oh, nice little. No, maybe not so nice. I thought we were going to see a nice little bit of micro to escape the chasing Reapers there, but it didn't go quite as planned. So it does lose the Reaper, and that's unfortunate. You know, Reapers are not a unit that you generally build a lot of, but it's nice to build one at the start of the game to use for scouting, get in, be a bit annoying, and get out again is the standard form. So now it's Dog's turn to come in and be a bit obnoxious. He's going to snipe that worker and slow down the production of that supply depot, which doesn't actually supply block Xeminus, but still slightly annoying. And it's going to go to town actually on these SCVs. Now, loses the Reaper to a combination of SCVs and one Marine, and actually to lose two Reapers like that is pretty poor. You don't want to go doing that. You shouldn't really ever be losing Reapers to SCVs. You know, keep them alive, get a bit of value from them. The Reapers aren't wildly expensive, but they do cost 50 gas, so you've just lost 100 gas. And what did you kill there? Maybe 2 SCVs? Well, let's find out. Workers killed. Oh, actually, there was 4 SCVs total killed. So this one at the front. Oh yeah, the one over here, the one at the front. But the standing fight here only killed 2 more SCVs. So definitely not a particularly efficient trade. So looking at the setup, this is. I'm not sure I like this building placement for Dog. I'm not a big fan of this. You know, you've got an awful lot of open space that you could be spreading these out. This just means if something attacks, if something attacks your front, you need your army to be all crammed into this area, and actually your army's going to have to funnel through these little gaps and stuff to get in there. Not great. If your army's already positioned here and something drops into your men, you know, everything's going to wind in and out of these buildings. You're better to space your, in general, you're better to build your buildings in a way that allow your units to move about freely within your base, so that you can move your units up to defend a drop, wherever that might be, or move your units to the front. I mean, frequently you do want to build some sort of wall, and sometimes it's common to build things, for example, here to block the path for reapers getting in. Sometimes it's common to build buildings in these sort of locations at the back of your mineral line to prevent reapers from running round the back and harassing your workers. Those types of things can happen too, but in general you want to be able to move your own units about. So Xeminus now sort of loading up this medevac over in Dogland. I don't know really what else to call it. Is it Dogland? Maybe it is. Over in Dogland, you can see that he's got like these Banshees and is researching both Banshee speed and cloak. Interesting that he's gone for speed first. I don't know about that. In general, if you're going to go Banshee, you need the tech lab. When the tech lab finishes, if you start cloak straight away and a Banshee, by the time the Banshee finishes and flies across the map, cloak finishes up roughly when your Banshee gets there. It does line up reasonably nicely, so you can get that cloaked Banshee into your opponent's base and you can start doing some damage. Now, with that in mind, those cloaked Banshees, there's no there's the orbital command, but there's no turrets here in the men for Xeminus. So Xeminus is going to run in with these Marines. Combat Shield is just about to finish up for them. Does he have stim? He does not have stim, so no stim, but nevertheless these Marines are in the mineral line and getting a lot of work done. And given that all the production's all the way over here, no sign of anything coming to defend. The Banshees show up and Xeminus manages to swipe some. To be honest, personally I'd have chased those. Banshees cost so much more than Marines. You know, these Marines are reasonably expendable really, and with healing from the medevac, they trade very efficiently against the Banshees. You know, Banshees do pretty well. They do a lot of damage to Marines for sure. You would lose all the Marines, but I'd happily swap those Marines to slow down these higher tier Banshees. So Xeminus has seen the Banshees, but back in the main here, there's actually no response to that, and that's a little bit weird. You know, if I've been in my opponent's base and I've seen that there's a significant number of Banshees, you have to assume that they are going to have cloak. You know, nobody is going to commit to Banshees that hard and not have cloak. So I'd love to see a couple of turrets come down here. You know, maybe a turret here, maybe a turret over here somewhere, because these Banshees are going to come in with cloak. And what have you got here? You've got enough energy for one scan. That is going to cause you all sorts of problems. So I'm a little bit surprised that we don't see some turrets go down. The other good response to Banshees are Widow Mines do extremely well. You can burrow a Widow Mine so that when you drop the scan, the Widow Mine will fire. So these Banshees are going to come in and do quite a lot of hurt. You know, there they are cloaked. The scan goes down, but the Marines are still moving in, so slightly early on that scan. And now we're just going to have to wait until we have energy again. So these Banshees, nothing we can do about them in the absence of turrets. That scan was just slightly too early. You want your Marines to be in position, ready to shoot. Then you drop the scan so that all of your Marines are hitting the Banshees rather than still filing in. So Vikings as a response to these Banshees is a good choice. Banshees don't actually shoot air. These fly back in to try and get a few more workers, but unfortunately that doesn't pan out for them. So, and that scan, you know, that's totally whiffed. There's no point scanning the Banshee when you've got nothing there to shoot it. But from Dog's point of view, that was not particularly efficient. I mean, he hung about over here, focusing the Ghost Academy, shooting Marines, when really he could have been shooting these workers. You know, there was no turret in the men, no reason to assume that there would be a turret in the natural. So his time would have been much better spent actually just killing workers. But anyway, so a couple of Vikings out scouting about for Xeminus. Another round of Banshees flying across the map here. I don't there is indeed an armory, and it's upgrading air attack. So, you know, Banshees with speed, with cloak, and with +1 attack can focus things down pretty quickly. But Banshees do fall out of the sky relatively easily. So they're great for harass. They're not generally that great in a straight up fight. So normally what you need to do here, you need to pull the workers and repair that turret as soon as you see the Banshees coming in. The Banshees come in, literally you've got to get all of those workers and get them around the turret. A little bit weird that the natural here is planetary. That's quite unusual. You don't, what a waste of Banshees. Why would you do that? You already knew there was a turret in the main. I suppose trapped by the Vikings. So again, some damage done, but actually Dog not trading very efficiently. These Banshees are not cheap. So, you know, he's chucking away Banshees for worker kills, sure, but it's not particularly efficient. If we look at the units lost, you know, Dog has lost significantly less units, but look at the resources they've been worth. So, you know, these are largely Marines. So yeah, not particularly efficient trades. In general, you know, when you've got a wall like this, you don't generally need a planetary. Normally the planetary is for this base over here, or something that's so far away from your men that it's very hard to keep defended. Bases that are close to home that you can defend easily enough, you don't really need those to be a planetary. You can defend those with your units. If you've got a ninja expand like Dog has over here, then by all means turn this into a planetary. And it just means that if it is spotted, a small kind of drop isn't enough to see it off. You do need to send a substantial commitment in there to actually deal with that. I'm not really sure about Dog building there. It just seems like you know, why not just build it in the normal third? I don't know. Anyway, these Vikings now are going to come in and see what they can get done. I am attempting to zoom out so we can have a good look. The Vikings able to land are going to be able to focus some stuff down here, and actually if he gets these armories, that'll be quite a nice snipe, because the armories are both upgrading air attack and air armor, so actually that's pretty pleasing to be able to pick those off. The other useful thing these Vikings has done is given Xeminus full vision here of this structure. So the fusion core there allows the production of battle cruisers. So once you see that, you know that your opponent is going for battle cruisers. He's got these 3 starports. You know exactly what to expect. Battle cruisers have that blink ability. They are very, very tanky. You know, the DPS of battle cruisers isn't fantastically high. So you do need quite a lot of them before they're that good at winning straight up fights, and actually Vikings trade very well against battle cruisers. The power of the battle cruiser is in blinking into your opponent's base and getting a lot of work done. So these guys are going to land. I'd like to see them pick off the fusion core. That would be great. That would be quite a nice snipe, and it does look like he's going to get that. Oh, and he gets it before Yamato Cannon finishes. These 2 battle cruisers, you know, 2 battle cruisers against this many Vikings, I don't know, Dog. I don't know how well this is going to go for you. You know, each volley there, so 3 volleys to pick that off, and actually Dog taps out. Okay, yeah, so a pretty reasonable response all in all to the Banshees. You know, Vikings are a good response to battle cruisers as well. The critiques I would make in general, you know, when you see that your opponent is going Banshees, you're instantly throwing down turrets because you're needlessly losing SCVs otherwise and burning scans. You know, it's all well and good to say, well, I can scan and I'll be able to see those cloaked units. But bear in mind, the scan costs you 270 minerals because each scan is a mule that you did not drop. You know, and turrets are cheaper than that, aren't they? So, and the turret just stays there the whole time. So nothing wrong with, especially if you know that your opponent is committing to Banshees like we saw. You know, you saw several of them. You saw the double starport, etc. Nothing wrong with just throwing down a whole bunch of turrets so that they just, you know, it makes them utterly defunct. It just means those Banshees have essentially become fairly useless because they're not going to get any harass done. And in a straight up fight, you know, Stim Marines against Banshees, I'll take the Stim Marines, thanks. Anyway, GG.